I'm Stacy with Stacy's Organizing and Decorating for Life. I'm here to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. So today our topic is going to be how can we gain acceptance in 2021? And I'll expand upon that in just a few minutes because it's a very interesting question. I have racked my brain about it today or somewhat this morning when I got that question in. So we're going to expand on that in just a minute. But before we do, hit the like and subscribe button below if you like that. That's our topic today, is gaining acceptance in 2021. But also I want to remind you that I do have a webpage. I'm not a doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, or scientist, or any of those things. I am a life coach, and my webpage is called stacyforlife.com. And on this webpage, I write a monthly blog, and I invite you to check that out. But there's also a description of the services that I provide as a life coach, as I deal with addiction, codependency, and grief. But I'm not a substitute for all of those things. I'm a supplement for those things. Okay, so I know for myself that the way that I found myself to some of those programs or rooms was through a life coach myself, because I wasn't even aware of what those things were, how they come about in my life, the revelations, so to speak. And that's the thing, is that digging deeper than that, really what people desire is healing and healthy relationships, as well as development of spiritual and soul consciousness. So this is really about getting comfortable in your own skin by dealing and healing those things that are buried on top of your soul, going within. So if you or anyone you know need help in any of those areas, again, look me up, stacyforlife.com. So let's get back on the topic of today, gaining acceptance in 2021. Charlotte brought this up, but when she brought it up, then Jennifer and Stephanie both were like, yes, this is a good topic. This is a good topic. So we're going to go into that. And I had already chosen a topic kind of to go along with this. And so I always love doing this because I'm able to merge these things to where they work perfectly well together. Okay. So I'm going to read you Charlotte's suggestion. I do Topic Tuesday, like I said, on Facebook. I even did it on Instagram today, though, but I posted a pretty picture, so I think people just looked at the pretty picture on Instagram. I don't think they responded. So on Facebook, Charlotte asked, she said, "Good morning. Acceptance doesn't mean I'll like it or approve of it. Therefore, acceptance looks like," and has a question mark, "and acts like," and has a question mark. So yeah, that's a loaded question. And so we're going to cover a few bases with this. I think I knew where she was heading with this, but I don't always know where people are heading with this. So I'm going to read this over, and I could anticipate and, to get minutes on this video and make y'all wait for my answer. But when I read this, I had the answers in my heart and in my soul. But I want to help you by listening to this further. After I give you the answers, you'll learn what I'm speaking of when I say to get clarity and everything. So to gain clarity of the two things that I'm going to tell you, stay tuned, okay? Because acceptance doesn't mean I'll like it or approve of it. Therefore, acceptance looks like humility, and it acts like grace. That's for me. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, that's what acceptance looks like. Sometimes in our programs it says surrender, surrender, surrender. So first off, oftentimes we have to surrender our ideas that maybe we don't know. That's where the humility comes in, right? Because some people are humiliated with the surrender, but really surrender is humility. It's like, okay, well, maybe I don't know, And so then the grace comes in, after we've given up our preconceived notions, and to know that there's a bigger, broader picture. And grace is just very expansive. I mean, grace is something when it shows up, for me, grace came up. I think the biggest time grace came up, and this is, is when I lost my son, is because I had all these things up in my head about, how I lost my son, what had happened, what could I have done, and all of this, and to get an acceptance of that brought me grace, and how I got there, so I'm going to kind of share that with you, but I don't think that's what Charlotte was talking about. Is there's a lot of hate, an energy of hate in America right now, and I think that this is what she's talking about. And so the reason I brought my grief up is because once you've grieved, if you're a mother and you've grieved a child, there's really, it doesn't matter who the president is or all these political things, is that we realize through our grief, some of us, and not just children, I know people who have lost loved ones this year that, it doesn't matter who the president is. These things don't matter because we miss these people and we cherish the people. So it's very important right now to cherish the people that are in our lives, that we have in our lives now. And once you grieve somebody on that kind of level, when it wasn't their time to go, some of these things, these petty things, can really get on a person's nerves, and it can be called petty because, see, the thing is that the presidents, they come and they go every 4 years, and what has happened here in my thoughts and perspectives in this whole thing, the pandemic, the presidency, and all of this, this is a perfect topic for me, and I'm glad that Charlotte asked this, is because after the 2020 pandemic and the high hopes that we had starting into 2021, and then obviously we were hit with kind of a grief again, and we'll get further into that, but anyway, it's going to take a while, because this is the thing, is that how I liken this to, and the example I would give for this is in organizing your thoughts and decorating your perspectives. It's kind of like my organizing and decorating when I did that physically, and I, explain that metaphorically in our thoughts and perspectives. So I'm going to try to tie this together for you all, because this is what's happened, is that, when I'm working in somebody's house and we're pulling out the clothes, we're pulling out these things that no longer serve us, that are no longer in style, that are outworn, outdated, and we just can't use it anymore. Well, kind of our thoughts are that way too sometimes, and this comes from the back of our brain. This is where I'm getting into the next part of this, is how we come to having humility and grace is through taking responsibility for our part in what role we are playing in this life. Because our back brain stuff is that stuff that's in the closet that, maybe we didn't need and everything, and that we're discarding, but yet it's still back there in the back of our mind. Those things, those are just reactions and stuff, and maybe they're no longer serving us. But then, so what happens is when we take out those things is that we get a clearer and brighter idea of what we actually had, the things that we actually had and have been looking for in our closet that we really wanted. And the same thing when we're digging those perspectives out, getting clearer and brighter perspectives, is when we go under that bed and dig out the cobwebs, dust bunnies, and then we realize that those monsters were really just in our head. We got a clearer picture of what we really want to see and be. And that's kind of what we're looking at now after coming out of 2020, is that, have you ever done that? You've cleaned out something and made this terrible mess, and you looked at it and you thought, oh my gosh, what is this? Why did I start this to begin with? I know I have. I've had projects that I've been like, oh my gosh, where am I going to go with this now? And everything. And so that's where we're at right now. Where are we going to go with this now? So it's taking responsibility on what we want to see. Because when we dig all this stuff out of our closets and stuff, and I'm not saying we're responsible for the whole mess. This stuff just happened, but what it has done is it has unearthed to reveal some things. That's the gift in it all, was it's really revealing some things that we can just think that these things just happened, but really these things that have happened have been building up. We've been polluting the earth for a long time. We've been, extending monies that we didn't have for a long time as a government. We've been doing a lot of stuff that, just weren't serving and working for us. And it has all erupted in an intense level in 2020 and early into 2021, because now our closet is erupted and we're sitting here looking at all this shit, and it's like, what do I do with it? So what do we do with it? How do we get an acceptance of all of this? How we get an acceptance of it is taking responsibility of ourselves. We're taught that when we point the finger at somebody else, and the reason I chose responsibility, and this is, hear me out please, because this is what I was thinking about responsibility last week before this topic of acceptance come up, is, taking responsibility for our lives means stopping the blame game. It's not the devil, but it is, but, we don't have to label these things. It's not the ego, but, it is. But we don't have to label these things. We are freaking humans and can think. So what happens and what is happening is people are just blaming it. When I say this, is people, oh, this is the devil, this is evil. This is the ego, well, rather than just labeling these things outside of ourselves, why, when we're pointing our finger at those things, we have three fingers pointing at us. Why do we label this way? So when we can look at our own thoughts and belief systems, then we can understand that, like I was saying, it is, but it isn't, because everything is, but it isn't, because what might be good for us might not be good for somebody else. So when we're asking about acceptance, are we asking about how do we accept other people, the sin, but the sinner, but not the sin, the person, but not the wrong? Or are we asking what our thoughts and beliefs? Because I'm not saying that we have to accept those people, but I'm we were given thought processes so we can think about what is it about this that is troubling me, because we can only heal. If we want to come from a place of healing and heal what's going on with us, because the pandemic, what it called for in essence is healing. It looked like it was calling for healing, where people are just having to heal from this thing called COVID, but people are healing from a good many things that they aren't even conscious or aware of. So this is why I'm always having a call for consciousness, because that's what these videos are designed to do. I don't do videos so you all will be divided. I do videos so you will be united, because when I saw the events of last week, and I think that some of this is about that, is that there's conspiracy theories, and really all in all, we don't trust the government. That one side doesn't trust the government and the other side doesn't trust the government. Many of us don't trust the government. We don't really know what's going on. And that's the humility of it all, is we really just don't even know what's going on. So why are we going to be mad at this person who has a sign on their lawn and mowing their lawn, and making decisions about something that 4 years ago people were pissed off because their president didn't get elected. In the old days, people went on about their business and discussed other things, rather than that, because it wasn't all in their face with the news and social media and the propaganda. Because on both sides, I don't believe that everything that is said is true, and I don't believe it's all false, and you just can't, we don't know what's real and what's not. And so it's all about an illusion that the media may be trying to put on us, or maybe even the government. So the real deal is that people don't trust the government, they don't trust the media, they don't trust all of this, but yet they're frustrated and they want to fight. And so it came to a head last week, and as a person who's in Mexico, and American in Mexico, and when I saw this happen, and I don't watch the news because I know that from what I understand is one side of the news supports this, one side of the news supports that, and I really don't have that kind of time to be following all of this propaganda and drama. What I want us to understand is if we like drama, if you like to follow that, then I want you to understand that's okay. To just say, I like drama. This is what I mean about responsibility, rather than buying into all of these stories, being like, I like this drama of all of this, and being able to understand that you like the drama of all of that is why you're doing that. Why am I doing this rather than why are they doing that? Why am I doing this? Why am I subjecting myself to this, right? So it's okay if you like the drama and you want to subject yourself to that, but it's being about owning, because I'm sitting here looking at things on the screen thinking, why are they sharing that? Because we don't know if it's real or not real, and what good are we doing? See, because I believe we were all sent down here for a purpose, and that purpose is good. But I believe as human beings, when we talk about free will and we talk about our higher power will, whoever you conceive that to be, God's will, then we're talking about when we came with free will, and we came with that little thing about the apple or the fruit or whatever it was, the good and evil, we couldn't have those if they weren't God intended. So when we talk about that gift of that little fruit, in my mind, is that we came in with self-centeredness. When we were born, people took care of us, and we continued to want people to take care of us. And some people still had that, some people did not. So then these people develop traits that are in this back part of their brain. This is your old brain stuff here. So that's in the back part of your mind. And then people, they're arrogant. Human beings are arrogant. We're always continuing learning. I'm still continuing learning, but I know now I've had my butt kicked enough that I know that I'm continuing to learn. So I know, this is another growth opportunity. And for those of you who know, I call those FGOs. And you can imagine what the F is, another growth opportunity, because growth opportunities don't feel good. But growth opportunities give me an opportunity to look at myself and take responsibility for myself, and why am I thinking, and why am I feeling, and what am I going to do to change my thoughts and perspectives, because they are not going to change for me. Changing myself, I've learned, has caused the outside things to what I attract to change. And so when Kim, my other friend, and I were talking about things earlier today, we were both being grateful that, we are not the same person we were 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. So when we're looking at this, to argue about things today that maybe in 10, 20, 25 years from now aren't going to matter, seems silly to me. To hate and have that division over things that aren't going to matter in 10, 15, 25 years, doesn't make sense to me. Things need to change, and the change starts with us. We need to be the change that we want to see and not wonder what they are going to do. There's a book called The Impersonal Life. Hold on, I'll get his name. The Impersonal Life is a book by Joseph Benner. And this book talks about, I read this book, and in fact, I had this book and I lent it out. But The Impersonal Life is it's to remind you not to put your faith in men. It deals specifically on your quest for Christ consciousness or what have you, but it talks about putting your faith in men, and how that sometimes when we have spiritual teachers or ministers and such, that we follow them instead of the teachings. And this is what we're dealing with right now in politics, is that people are following the politicians and not what America, I'm talking about America because I'm American, and what we dealt with last week. And so there's a bunch of division, a bunch of hate in America right now. So this is what I'm talking about. And I think this is where this question was coming from, though I'm not sure. So I'm going to try to make this to where it can be expansive, because whether it's, our religious leaders or politicians or whoever, men are fallible. We just are. Like I said, we all are self-centered, self-seeking, and arrogant. Now, as time goes on, most of us grow out of that, and learn to try to be of service and serve our purpose. But when we get pissed off because one political party won and ours didn't, and we are bad sports about it, then that's, kind of an arrogance to say, well, that you knew who was better. So this is why I'm saying the humility is, because when we're looking at humanity and trying to serve, when we're looking at humanity and trying to serve a larger picture, then we don't know what really is supposed to be the outcome. We don't know, a lot of things. There's things that I had ideas about 10 years ago that thankfully they didn't come to fruition now, and things like this. So everything happens in a right and divine way. Hence why I call that the free will when we're in our arrogance, because we think we know, but yet there's a bigger and brighter picture. Sometimes things can be better than we imagined. This is why I'm always saying to say, breathe, pray, and say, I don't know, because that opens you up to the magic, mystery, and miracles. But what's happened right now is so many people think that they know. They think that they know like they know like they know. But really the only thing that we know like we know is our own soul. So that's what I'm saying, when we point the finger at somebody else and we got three fingers pointing back at us, we really only know our own soul and what our understanding is and everything. And what does our own soul really want for us? And I believe that our own soul is connected to our consciousness, which is connected to our higher power, whoever we perceive that to be, that God. And so like Joseph Benner was talking about in his book, that sometimes we follow people, but we evolve. Sometimes people have followed ministers and then they evolve, they change, they grow, they have a different preference. And so that's what we do also with our political things. But right now what we've got is our closet is all exposed, and we got to clean this stuff up, and we have to clean it up. Like if I pulled all the shit out of my closet and then told somebody else to clean it up, it would be like, well, then I've got to learn where to put all this stuff, or where it goes, and I don't know. See, that's like with our own goals in our life. That's our practice and development. Sorry, I have an old lady dog and she's talking. It sounds terrible. But she's either hungry or tired, or she's tired of sleeping in that spot. So when we're looking at our goals, we're all meant to evolve, see? So when we're evolving, we have to pay attention to the front brain stuff, the frontal stuff. That's the stuff that's open. The back brain stuff responds to trauma. So anytime people are responding, because I don't believe that the incidents that happened last week were meant to get out of hand when they began like they did. I would like to hope not anyway. I don't believe that it serves to blame another outside source and all of this. I'm sick of this blame stuff on both sides. If anybody on both sides that talks to me on a personal level knows that I'll tell you in a fast, I don't care if you're on this side or this side. We don't even know what's going on. We don't know, so it doesn't matter. The thing that matters is that the people who love Donald Trump are souls. I love some of those people that love him, and they are souls, and they are good souls. Some of them have the biggest hearts of people I know. And then the people who love Joe Biden, those too are good souls. And some of those have the biggest hearts of the people that I know. So these are people that I love on both sides. And I have my own preference, but I don't feel like I've got to put my preference out there because you know what? Before I vote, I pray, I vote, and then I just leave it be. And there's certainly been presidents I didn't like, but I didn't think that they were evil because because they won and my president didn't, nor did I think that, it's just silly. So with us being human beings and being able to think for ourselves, we have to think of what the solution is. What do we want to see change? And then we have to be playing a part in that. I don't think that spreading the propaganda is going to help. I don't know, do you have people when you spread propaganda? This is, just in honesty, when you spread propaganda, do people say, oh, gee, I'm thankful that you told me this? Or are you just looking for validation for the belief system that you're choosing to take, which is fine too. It's just to understand that. See, for me, I'm just going to scroll past anyway. I like what Charlotte says, about if you don't like the post about a political thing, that you can say hide the ad. So that's one way. So there's solutions there, and so just getting into the solutions and not judging the person because they believe this way and that way and the incidences. However, I do want to say regarding the incidents last week, and I'll stop on that, is that when that happened, I'm sitting here in Mexico and I'm on YouTube because I don't watch the news, because I hear that one side's geared to one way and one side's geared to another way, and I don't have time for all that. I'm trying to make this world a better place, trying to help raise the vibe of this universe, trying to make us aware of our own thoughts and perspectives. And so to take responsibility and ownership of that. So I'm sitting at my computer in Mexico, and my friend from Canada calls me, and she says, Stacy, are you watching the news right now? And I said, yes. And I was crying because never have I seen the United States of America so divided in my entire life. And I think that that's what this acceptance is about, is I've never seen it so divided, and it made me cry. And this is where we have to start being a change. Instead of continuing to spread hate, be conscious of what we're spreading. Or if you're spreading hate, just own it. Be responsible. Quit blaming somebody else because you want to spread hate. Say, I like drama. I like to spread hate. Just call it what it is. Rather than they, or them. Because when we're all grieving. So somebody may be grieving that it's a grief, right? When you don't get what you wanted, when you don't get your way, it's a grief. People file grievances at work when, they feel like they've been wrongly or unjustly treated and stuff like this. So it's a grief when we don't get what we want. So we have to go through this process of forgiveness. When I went through my grief, I lost my son tragically, as I know other people that watch my videos have lost somebody tragically. And when you lose somebody tragically, things like that, like I said before, they just don't seem to matter, but there still is a process about what could I have done? What did I, how do I look at this? How do I see this? I'm always praying, how do I see this the way God would have me see it? So ask yourself when you're getting into acceptance is, how do I see this the way that God would have me see this? And get off the damn computer and quit looking at propaganda. Listen to God if you want to know. Above me is a plaque, and you can't read it from here, but it's a plaque that my friend Vera gave me. It says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. So if you can't change it, can we change something by sitting at our computer spreading more propaganda or gossip? No, you can write these political figures. Kim and I were talking, and some political figures need to go. This whole thing, this stuff is dragged out for the closet for us to see so we can see how we can fix it. So use your minds. Don't be arrogant and think that they're going to fix it and picking the other people that's going to fix it. Use your minds about how are we going to show up and be more humane in this world. What is it that we want to see? What are the changes that we want to see? Because neither of those political candidates have exactly the changes. They resonate in one way or another, or else you were just brought up one political party and you just continue to vote that political party. That's going back with your back brain stuff, and that's okay if that's, but it doesn't mean that another party's evil, because if we're brought up with one, I know I was brought up, most people in my family vote a certain way. Sometimes I vote that way, sometimes I don't. It just depends on who I like. If I'm voting, and lately, honestly, I haven't liked anybody. I just have, prayed and gone to vote. It's not like that. So I don't know what to tell y'all. I hope that this video has been helpful. I hope that you've been able to understand that we are arrogant people when we think that we know what's better for everybody else. And if they don't believe us, that we can call them names, if that's okay, because that's not right. That's not right. I don't think it's cool to call people names. And dealing with people, when they tell me somebody shouted at them, I'm like, why'd they shout at you for? Were you walking away? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, did you shout at them? No. And I'm like, well, do you think you need to be shouted at then? Because there's certain behaviors that if they just don't appeal to us, we just don't have to sit around with them. So sometimes we do love people from afar. It doesn't, you can... like Kim was saying, you can love the sinner but not the sin. And I wouldn't want to sit with me 25 years ago, is in my evolving. Sometimes we just evolve. And when I look at me 25 years ago, I wouldn't be sitting with me in a room today. I would be getting on my nerves, And so just understanding that we grow and we change. And to not be persecuting and hating people right now, because they have the capacity to grow and change. And what part or what role are you going to play in that? Are you going to, shame them? Do you think that those are the people that are going to be lifted up in their eyes? Because oftentimes we become the thing that we hate. We become that if we aren't careful. So it's like, not to spread hate to either side of these parties, to become united. How do we become united again? United looks like this. Where is harmony? Like harmony is you need your reflexes in the back of your brain, your old tapes, to be able to know how to react if you are in danger. But you also need to be able to learn in front. So if you could be in harmony and meet in the middle, where in Reiki, that's where I do my self-Reiki on myself, is just right here, is when we meet here, we're able to attune both the front brain, our learning, but we're able to access that thing from the past, that back brain stuff, maybe even past lives. I don't know. I haven't accessed a past life, but, we just don't know. So the possibilities lie in the middle there somewhere is all I'm suggesting. So to get into acceptance, so we can look at what they're doing and then examine what we're feeling about it, and then come to a solution of what would be the highest and best and greater good for all humanity, not just for me, because maybe I don't know. Maybe. Okay? So I hope that I'm right, though, on us being united instead of divided. So I hope this video has been helpful. And I just wish you'd take a few moments and breathe in. Breathe in peace. Where you're sitting right now, everything is in right and divine order. Just keep breathing in. Close your eyes and sit there and be like, I'm sitting in this chair or wherever you are, and it's comfortable, and everything's fine in my world right now. There is nothing going on that I need to react to at the back of my mind. There's probably things I could pay attention to at the front of my mind. What's going to bring me more peace? What's going to bring more peace to this world? Because that's how we're going to survive, is through peace. There are so many people dying these days and leaving. And the people that miss them, they aren't thinking about the president. They aren't thinking about all of this. They're thinking about how they love somebody. So sometimes it's like until we lose things, we don't realize or cherish their value. So remember to cherish and value those that you have around you instead of finding the differences. Look for the similarities. So I hope that this has been helpful once again, and I wish you much peace and love, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week. Again, I hope this video has been helpful, and I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Bye.